You need strong glutes, and bridge pose is one of the ways to get it. However, many of us tend to be doing it in a way that hurts our lower back, hurts our knees, or we're just not sure if we're actually doing it right because we're not necessarily feeling it. Well, the good news is in this video, you're going to learn some of the quick things that you can do to help get your glutes, those strong butt muscles of yours, on board, activated, and strong to protect your lower back and your knees. I'm Brea Johnson of Heart and Bones Yoga, and this is your place to learn all about your amazing, cool, beautiful body in ways that you can apply to your yoga practice and, of course, into your everyday life and other activities. As a yoga teacher who's been teaching for over 2 decades, for me, I don't teach bridge pose as a back bend. I teach it more as a pose that is going to be an opportunity to help strengthen people's posterior chains. Your posterior chain is your backside, simply put. And here in bridge pose, very specifically, the hamstrings and the glutes. And you're probably wondering, wait a second, how is bridge pose not a back bend? Well, that's a bigger conversation of what exactly is a back bend. And quite often in yoga, what we think a back bend isn't quite doing what we think it's doing. So oftentimes we think, well, we live in a world where our spines are rounded forward like this. And so to reduce and relieve that postural habit, we should do back bends. But what happens is a little bit different underneath the surface. So I've got my handy little demo here person who can show the spine a bit. So now your spine, what we think we're doing in a back bend is we think that we're arcing the spine. So wonderful like that, right? However, for a lot of us, what we're usually probably doing is more of a hinging movement in and around T12, around the lower thoracic vertebrae. So instead of the whole spine beautifully rounding like so, it's going to probably be a little bit more hinging. So I'm going to put my finger here, and we'll see that when we bring that in what we think is a back bend, how that vertebrae here is dropping down, and these vertebrae aren't doing much, nor should they, because of the design of our beautiful body. These upper thoracic vertebrae, notice how the spinous processes here go down. So that means they're already kind of there, and there's not a lot of room for them to go into further extension, which is no surprise then that these lower spinous processes of the lumbar spine have more room to bend, and that's usually where our bend is coming from. But this is just an important little tip to know about our back bends. We're not always back bending in the way that we think we are. And so knowing when you do any sort of back bend, think more about elongating the vertebrae instead of just getting that sort of like kind of compressing movement here. But here in this video, that's all you need to worry about for your spine. Now let's look at our glutes and why we want to focus more on the glutes for this particular exercise and tips. So here's your pelvis, of course, and your glutes are your big, strong muscles behind you, those 2 butt muscles. And they are big, they're strong, they're powerful. You can think of them as nice anchors to support that bendy and mobile lumbar spine that we have here. They help propel us and move us through the world. So here's a little approximation of the bridge pose. Of course, this is just a little skeleton and it does not have the capacity to move in the ways that we in the human body can move. But if you want to think about it here, when we're in this position, and so when we come down, we start with the knees bent, you really want to think about, I'm just gonna do this, you really want to think about pressing the feet, rooting the feet into the ground the whole time, which is going to create a little bit of a chain force reaction here up the leg and into your glutes. So then when you're lifting, you're pressing down, and it's going to help invite your glute muscles to lift the pelvis off the floor like that. But here's where a lot of people get it backwards. They let go of the glutes when they come back down. Or, I hope this is changing in the yoga world, but historically it's been kind of common to tell people to relax their glutes while in back bends. Please don't do that. Ignore that cue. Yoga teachers, drop it from your vocabulary, please and thank you. We want the glutes to work the whole time. So to really get them on, you press the feet into the floor, and then your pelvis is like the glutes, I like to think of it as like little elevators for your pelvis. So you can just watch that motion. That's what's happening. And so we're not coming into this, you know, even though his back bend looks more back bendy, we're not coming into this trying to back bend or anything like that. We are simply focusing on the movement of the pelvis. Now let's see that in our own bodies. Now that you've had that little visual with our skeleton friend, let's feel it in our own body here. So you're going to press your feet into the floor, and I want you just to notice actually when you press your feet into the floor, what happens? Right away, what will probably happen, pressing your feet into the floor, you start to notice again that little zoop feeling of things starting to activate and wake up through the rest of the body. So that's the simplest cue ever, isn't it? Just press the feet into the floor. And now keep pressing the feet into the floor enough that you can start to invite your hips to lift up. There's that simultaneous lifting movement through your glutes and pelvis at the same time as pressing down through your feet. And then it doesn't matter how high you lift the hips. Remember, we're not making this a back bend. We don't need to lift the chest. You're going to keep pressing your feet into the floor as you lower down. Again, this is the part where most of us want to stop using the glutes, but I highly encourage you to not do that. Keep the movement of the feet down into the floor the whole time. So again, press your feet into the floor, lift. And notice how I'm not telling you to squeeze your glutes, because we want that glute activation. So we're going to lower back down again. We want that glute activation to happen through the movement of the feet a little bit more. So you're welcome to try it with squeezing the glutes. So let's see what that feels like. So come up, don't worry about the feet, and then squeeze your glutes. Do you notice, I notice in my body when I squeeze the glutes, my lower back kind of goes, because it kind of pushes my hips and pelvis a little higher than it wants to be. And then I squeeze down, and then that just feels sort of tight and not happy for my body. So let's try that again. Let's go feet, just press the feet down and like activate the glutes. So yeah, like you're not squeezing, but you're not doing anything. And hopefully the work of the feet pressing down into the floor starts to kick on things a little bit more. Feel free to feel your butt, like get your fingers and then notice, okay, are my glutes doing anything? Are they engaging? And then come back down, keep pressing your feet into the floor as you lower down. Don't lose the work of your glutes. Nice. Okay, now you might be going, well, okay, maybe my glutes were working, but I actually really felt my hamstrings. Totally normal. It's not like your hamstrings aren't going to work here. They're absolutely going to help out with the movement. But we're trying to get our brain to wake up any sleepy glutes that we have. So I'm going to try a few more cues for you to help you find more glute activation. So again, you're going to still press the feet into the floor. Feet and knees are hip width apart. And then at the same time, while you press the feet into the floor, can you feel like you're dragging them toward your body without actually moving them? So we have a simultaneous downward movement and a toward your body movement. Now keep that double work of the feet moving down, heels and feet moving towards your body. And I don't know about you, but my hamstrings were like, oh, hello, you want us to help even more. And so hopefully you got that hamstring, but maybe you also got a little more glute activation. Keep gently pressing down and gently pulling your heels without moving them towards you as you lower down. Can you keep that on the down? Ooh, hello. Okay, so hopefully that kicked things on, but again, many of us are probably gonna feel our hamstrings more, which is, again, this is fine. But let's try with our heels, just the heels on the ground. Sometimes that will help. So this is a little bit different, but see how it works for you. Press your heels down and then lift. Yeah, like it brought for me a little bit more into my glutes in a nice way actually. So I like that today. Our bodies are different every time. And then I'm gonna keep pressing my heels down. The rest of the foot is off the floor the whole way down. So now you get to choose your own adventure. Which one worked better for you to really get that glute activation? You can again tap your glutes to see if they're kicking on. And then especially on the lowering phase, notice if there's a moment where you feel like, oh, yeah, there's one glute or both glutes sort of just lost it and then stopped working. And that's okay too. Now, I really, really recommend here to keep playing with this and don't get discouraged if you find that it still didn't work and your hamstrings were working harder than the glutes. This is normal. And just what happens in your brain and your nervous system and in your body, neurologically, when you're learning a new movement, it takes time. And it may not show up right away, but that doesn't mean it's not working. So especially if you're a yoga teacher as well and you want to teach this in your classes, in your glute bridges, in your bridge poses, then and if people are going, well, I'm not feeling anything, that's okay. The more we repeat this, the more we really do the pressing down, a little bit of the drag action through the foot, we'll start to imprint and program that new motor program from the brain to the body, and eventually the glutes will kick on. That's one of the simplest ways that we can help kick them on for our glute bridge. If you've got questions, if this worked, if this didn't work, let me know in the comments. I love finding out how this landed for you. And as always, subscribe and binge and watch all of the other lovely, helpful videos for you.